Anurag Anand, an MA History from Delhi University, is a research analyst with the Parliament Museum in New Delhi and helps with academic and visual research, assistance in museum curation, visual research during the content development stage, coordination with NMI, and narration of various scripts. He is also the founder of We Tell a Folktale, which is an initiative to build an online archive of folk culture across India. He has hired research assistants and research interns to document the folk culture for this project. He has worked on research projects with the Indigenous Bear Museum and the dance form of Dhruva tribe of Chhattisgarh.
पाँचो तो बहिन विषहरी पाँचो तो कुमारी हे अरे पाँचो तो बहिन विषहरी पाँचो तो कुमारी हे अरे छोटकी बहिन विषहरी माली फूलवारी हे अरे छोटकी बहिन विषहरी माली फूलवारी हे अरे बाट ही भेटी गेला गोरना के बेटा रे अरे बाट ही भेटी गेला गोरना के बेटा रे अरे चोर एक आरे गोरना दूध पीला बरे अरे चोर एक आरे गोरना दूध पीला बरे आहे से नाही सोट नाही कैसा दुहब गाई है आहे से नाही सोट नाही कैसा दुहब गाई है.
Welcome to Samvadanam. I am incredibly excited today to be talking to Anurag, who is passionate about folk arts, who is passionate also about propagating folk arts, as well as preserving them. And today we're going to learn so much more about, the kind of folk arts that we have lost due to multiple reasons, but we have lost them nonetheless. And Anurag is doing fantastic work in trying to bring them back, along with the help of a lot of other people in this field as well. But it takes a lot of devotion and a lot of sacrifices to bring out the best in any folk art. And I'm so happy, Anurag. Welcome to Samvadanam.
Thank you, ma'am. It has been a great journey, and it is an honor to be called upon.
Thank you so much. That's so sweet of you. Anurag, let me ask you something. Why do you believe preserving, propagating folk tales are important? Why do you even think that?
So, storytelling has been there since millennium. Okay, and it is the basic of the society. It has the history of that society. So, if there is some event going on, right? So, the society, what it does, it is difficult to just memorize the details of it without the whole context, right? So, uh, mere details can be sometimes be boring, like what many of the students might say ki history is boring, right? Because it has too much of detail. So what the society did, the community did for itself is it made it in such a way that it can become narrative, it can be entertaining, and essence of the whole society is woven through that those events, right? Right. So they made stories, they made myths. And what folktale is, the conscious and subconscious mind of the whole society. It is the anxieties, what Sigmund Freud said. What is dream? Dream is the anxiety of your conscious and subconscious mind, right? So that's what a folktale is. It is the anxiety of that society, that very society, woven in a form of epic or story, oral traditions.
Correct. Songs.
Yes,
Um,
songs. There are songs, poetries, riddles, quiz, uh, many things. So yeah.
that's yeah.
Now
That's
what? Yeah, so these things are the essence of folk tales. Why we need to preserve it? We have been preserving the Rig Vedas, the Shamveds, the Vedas, the Vedantas. Why have we been preserving it, researching on it, decoding it? Right. So there are various elements. Like now, I am working on this Parliament Museum.
correct.
So there are panels which talks about the democratic traditions of India since ages, right? So how we come to know about democratic traditions which were there 2000 years ago? We come to know through the sabhas and samitis, the sloks which mention sabhas and samitis in Rig Veda,
True.
right? And Kautilya's Arthashastra, which talks about the democratic tradition. Uh, so, those were the oral traditions, right? And after a while, it got written, and now we are exploring it, researching it,
Right.
right? It has some kind of history. So, when we come to folk narratives, folk culture, it has been an oral tradition. Okay, few of the historians say ki, this folk culture doesn't have any history or something like that. It is just for fun and it is meaningless. It is just someone's desire and all. It's not that. It has inculcated the very nuances of the whole community. It has the forms of protest. It has the forms of struggle. Uh, and also, when we talk about folk culture, it is nothing which is to be romanticized as a happy thing and all. It is about the pain of that society. What an eminent professor, folklorist, Jawaharlal Handu says, it is the pain of the society which has been woven in the folk culture. Okay, so when we read any folk culture, we have to see the underground wave, underlining wave, what
Correct. Correct.
is present there uh, in terms of stories and poems and riddles and everything. We need to conserve it for its historical values, which has not yet been decoded. Yeah.
No, lovely, lovely way of putting it. And I completely agree with you because I think a lot of what we see today existed much earlier, maybe in a different, slightly different form, depending on the times and the needs. But there is so much we can learn from it. As you said, that it's not some random, unimportant thing that is developed over a period of time, but a lot of thought process. And as you correctly said, a lot of communication, and more importantly, it's almost like a snapshot of history, right? All of these are just telling you at that point of time what happened, how was it done, where was it taking place, how did people react, what was done, and on the ground sort of a report on how it was. So it's
Mhm.
fascinating to hear that, right? And I think a lot of folk arts does bring that out because they also dramatize certain things, but they dramatize the core idea, and I think that is where you're
Mhm.
you keep repeating that it's very, very important.
There has been a problem here now that folk art or folk culture has been perceived a perspective of aesthetics, you know.
Ah,
It has been what I say, just revolving around the entertainment purpose. The folk paintings have been installed in their bedrooms, or let's say the drawing rooms,
correct.
to have so that their guests might see it and love it for their aesthetic purpose. But currently I went to my village, and I saw the pam- pampas grass is being sold like for 1600 or something. I was like, what is happening? When I saw that pampas grass was growing in my village, and it is coming from there. And where is the story behind that pampas grass? Where it is growing? In which community is growing? What is the geographical region? What have been their history? Right? It is just installed out there for beautification of the guest room or something like that. But what is the story? Who is telling the story? No one is coming up with these stories,
True.
right? Where those pampas grass originates, right? When you have stories from there, you will know what are the barriers which they have to overcome, right? And that's how the policies might also get affected through
Correct.
those things. So yeah, these are the things which pinches me, that
Ah.
the story needs to be told, right?
It's such a lovely way of putting it that the story needs to be told, right? But
Hmm.
interestingly, I mean, I can see you're passionate about it. Anybody can. But how did your journey actually start?
Okay, so I was in BA third year, and a faculty member, faculty lecturer came. Her name was Neil Rekha, and she has done a lot of work on Madhubani Mithila painting. So she gave us the assignment, and she was teaching the folk culture and all. So uh, you know, I got fascinated with this Mithila painting and her work, her research work. And after that, it came to my mind that this Mithila painting, there is a painting in my hometown too. I come from Bhagalpur, Bihar, and there's a painting named Manjusha painting, which is a scroll narrative painting out there. Came to my mind that this painting exists, and there might be something which might have some story and something
Correct.
like that. So I was drawn towards it. After the semester ended, I went home. I started looking for those people who are working towards it. I met an eminent professor named JC Sharma, Jyotish Chandra Sharma sir. He has worked a lot on Manjusha art. I have his book signed from him. Unfortunately, he is no more with
Okay.
us. The journey began there, and whatever he said, whatever I wrote about the Manjusha painting, which he had to say, it left a great mark on my uh, subconscious mind. After that I was restless. After that I was to know everything about this folk culture. And later on I met Ulupi Jha ma'am. She has been awarded by President for her initiative towards Manjusha painting. After that, I met a few people who are working for Manjusha art and folk culture of Manjusha. Then what happened? I began reading. After reading, I came to know that it is based on certain folk tale. I was going through folk tale. I read Professor Dr. Amrendra Kumar. So he mentioned that there is underlying wave which is present in this folk tale, and he brings out that there is some kind of protest going on. The women community is trying to, tell something
Right.
about their struggles through this folk tale, right? So whatever my education was, and I just interpreted it, yes, there is some kind of protest going on, there is environmental protest, there is gendered protest, these all things were present out there. And it was woven so intricately in the form of story that it is amazing to know these things, right?
Right.
And this quest brought me to this level that I wanted to establish something for this Angika folk culture, right? So I started We Tale a Folktale after that 3 years ago. I thought like we can collaborate with painters and the performers who tell the story, the storytellers and all of that very place. Later on, when I was doing my PG diploma in folklore and cultural studies, uh, the books got me in its grip, you know. So I thought like it is not just my place that we have a folk tale or folk painting or a folk culture. It is present there across India, right?
True. Very true.
So when I was researching for my own folk tale, there was very scarcity of documents out there. At times, it was not accessible to me because obviously the place where I come from, I always say कि opportunities की बंजर जमीन है,
Right.
ठीक है
Right.
वहां पे. तो हम वहां से माइग्रेट करके दिल्ली आ जाते हैं फॉर हायर एजुकेशन.
True. True.
So there are documents which are in physical form which we can't access from here. It
Correct.
is present there. People are working towards those their folk culture. So many a times it is not accessible to us, right? So there might be. So this thing got into me that there might be certain students, academicians who want to access these folk culture documents about these folk cultures, but uh, they are not able to, get hold of those documents or
Correct.
necessary research works. Yeah. So I thought like, let's do this. Let's start documenting. Let's start collecting. Let's start archiving these documents, and that's how folktale emerged. Yeah.
Absolutely lovely. I mean, it's a phenomenal journey, always an interesting journey, right? And
Yeah.
so you have started this journey of trying to preserve, conserve, propagate. So how do you plan to increase
Mhm.
interest in preserving, local folk tales? What have you done for these steps, and a little more about what your plans might be, even if they're not already in place?
So I started collaborating with people who are already who are eminent in this field. The professors, the artisans, the people who are actually researching or documenting, making films, or trying to preserve them through their private collections and all. I have started collaborating with these people. And so this is the part of collaboration. Now I'm trying to interview them. I'm trying to talk to them. I want to bring those voices who are eminent in particular folk cultures. Right now, apart from that, I'm trying to collaborate with documentary filmmakers or people who are into film industries, so that uh, those folk cultures can be researched, documented and filmed for the bigger audience,
Right.
Apart from that, I'm looking for help from the government organizations who are already working on the projects of folk culture or preserving cultural heritages. Right. I'm just trying to navigate through every possible aspect. Apart from that, social media is a great thing nowadays.
Absolutely,
So
absolutely.
I've been collaborating or the agencies, the institutions or company who are into, visual media. They are making illustrations and all. I have interns under me. Uh, so they research certain areas, and I collaborate with these companies who are into illustration. I provide the research, visual reference. They make the illustration, and now it goes on social media. The students or the community who are on social media, they interact with these posts. They get curious. That so that's how I'm figuring out things.
No, no,
Yeah,
absolutely lovely. And there's just so many things that you have to do in order to
yeah,
propagate and safeguard this, because it's not a simple question of let's all have access to it, right? Access itself is such a huge problem. I completely understand.
exactly,
And
exactly.
yeah, and
Is an immense amount or like population demograph which is of first generation learner.
right,
They don't know how to access things, right? So we want to establish our community in that way, so that any first generation learner who have access to social media thing or internet m- should know what retailer folktale is, or if they want to research or want to know something, they land up googling or searching for
true,
retailer folktale.
true.
Yeah.
No, no, absolutely.
Hmm.
I think that's very important.
Hmm. Mhm.
And how do you think citizens can contribute to this initiative?
Okay, so there are several ways how citizens can contribute to this the whole thing. What we are doing or what government is trying to do is
Correct,
preserving the folk culture and promoting the folk culture. So first of all, we need to engage them, right? Most of the citizens don't are not aware of what folk culture is.
absolutely.
First, we need to have seminars, festivals, uh, carnivals related to this. Okay, so that the citizen gets drawn towards these concepts, and later on we can engage with them by telling
Correct.
them the stories which is there, which they know. Okay, so there is a short story. It is of two line. uh, एक फोक टेल है, और फोक टेल बस दो लाइन का है कि अकबर बिरबल को एक अंगूठी देता है और बिरबल गायब हो जाता है. ठीक है. This is the folk tale. That's it. So there is an underlining wave to this folk tale. What it is? It is in our daily life. Like we want something. What Birbal did. वो हंसाता था कोर्ट को, right?
So he
For
used
what he
to,
did.
yeah, he used to entertain the
Exactly.
entire court. Correct.
एग्जैक्टली. बट वो क्यों करता था? क्योंकि उसे कुछ पैसे चाहिए थे. ही फॉर हिज ओन लाइवलीहुड, राइट?
Absolutely.
Once Akbar gave him that gold ka angoti, he vanishes. Okay, so it happens in our daily life, right? Someone wants some help from you. He is there. He entertains you, and once the job is done, he vanishes, right?
Correct.
Or they vanishes. So yeah, these are the things which they after engagement with these citizens or common people, you know they they know what it is,
Correct.
right? It has been there with them. They just don't know what it is about,
True.
right? What it is about. So जैसे एक स्टोरी हम बताते हैं. एक स्टोरी है कि अच्छा, कटिंग फॉर अ सेकंड. Isn't is it getting too elaborative?
No, no, not at all. Please go ahead. I'm just saying it in English so
Okay,
the people who might not understand will also understand what we're saying. That's all. But
sure,
please
sure,
go
sure.
ahead. Don't worry at all.
Okay. So there's a story, and the story is जो हम लोगों ने बचपन से सुना है कि एक पेड़ पे एक मैना रहती थी, वो अंडे देती थी. उस पेड़ के नीचे एक सांप रहता था, वो मैना का अंडा खा जाता था. ठीक है. So मैना what she did, or that bird what she did is devised a cunning plan.
हाँ,
एक दिन क्या होता है कि वो जो उस क्षेत्र की रानी थी वो नहाने आती है पूल में, बगल में जो पोखर तालाब था, वहां नहाने आती है. वो अपने जेवर जेवरात उतार के रखती है और फिर नहाने के लिए पॉन्ड में चली जाती है. उसके बाद उनके सिपाही जो है वहां पे वेट कर रहे होते हैं. दिस मैन व्हाट शी डिड कि शी न्यू कि शी कांट किल दैट स्नेक,
snake.
राइट?
Correct.
वो सांप को नहीं मार सकती थी, तो शी डिवाइस द प्लान. She goes to that pond. She picks up that necklace, and these sipahis saw what the bird is doing, right?
Correct. Correct.
What she did, वो जेवर उठा के सांप के होल के सामने रख देती है.
Right.
And these sipahis followed the bird. They came to that necklace. They picked it up. और फिर वहां से होल के पास से सांप निकलता है. एंड ये जो सिपाही थे सांप को मार देते हैं.
Correct. They,
ठीक
they
है.
killed the snake. Correct.
That was a great story. Now, what underlying theme is, what underlying history it inculcates into itself, who this manna is or the bird is, which is not so powerful, and उनका जो ऑफस्प्रिंग है वो खा जा रहा है कोई सांप या द
Correct.
पावरफुल
They died. Correct.
समवन, राइट? तो ये बर्ड जो है ये पेजेंट है, ये पेजेंट क्लास है,
Ah,
विच इज नॉट सो पावरफुल.
right.
वो क्या करती है, वो अंडे देती है, वो पैदावार लाता है, वो फसल उगाता है, और वो पैदावार जो है वो कौन खा जाता है? वो लैंडलॉर्ड खा जाता है. वो सारा जो है पैदावार हार्वेस्ट, वो सारे
So
चीज
the
लैंडलॉर्ड ले
landlord
जाता है.
takes away whatever the farmer or
हम्म,
any person actually
हम्म,
produces, right? And
हम्म,
they are the
हम्म.
ones who are actually getting
हाँ, so अब now this plan, what the peasant class, it is kind of anxiety too of that peasant class,
correct, correct,
and they are uh, making this story, or weaving this story to narrate at times to these landlords too. Okay, so that the landlord can be shamed through a
right,
story.
right,
Exactly. So, previously in ancient times, what we used to do, or the society used to do, they didn't excommunicate the bad person, or they don't kill or give severe capital punishment to those person,
right,
okay, who are doing something bad to the society, right? They mock them through
mm,
stories, through
right,
poems, through you know these riddles, okay,
right.
so that those bad person can be shamed and can be brought to the right track, right? So that was the beauty of society too, right?
And it's a
Yeah.
very subtle way also. Those who will understand will understand, you know, they know who we are talking about.
Exactly,
And it's,
exactly.
as
So
you said,
we
it's not like
uh,
openly saying it and getting into trouble later on,
hmm.
but in a very
So
subtle way, the message is sent.
So we as a society are not inherently like usko maar do, usko kaat do. It is
Correct,
not like
correct.
that. It is very subtle. It is very slow, and it is very peaceful. It has been. We just have lost our track. In certain advancement, technical advancement, or let's say the informational, what information we intake, right? So we have too much of information. We don't you know uh, reflect upon those information or
Right.
retrospect on those informations. uh, we certainly know that get hold of that information uh, uh, and starts talking. They
Right,
don't
right.
listen now.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the whole process of folk culture was oral tradition. It was about listening. It was about engaging with the whole community. How it breeds one, because when a folk tale or folk poem is recited, it is not just someone's lived memory. It is about or individual lived memory. It is the lived memory or consciousness of those whole community, right?
Correct, correct.
So so that's how we can engage the citizens. And uh, after these engagements, they it is a inherent thing. When we are told some story,
Mm,
right, we what is Bhagavad Gita? It is a kind of moralistic story.
mm,
Okay. Which has mythological characters into it. It is a story, and it has been propagated since ages to do good to the mankind. There can be some contradictory things too written there, which I think must be omitted. Okay. Like, don't take the bad things, take the good things. That's it. From the story, from the narrative, and move ahead. So the growth, the progress of any society can be through the good part of the respective culture which they inherit. Okay. So the community or the citizens first needs to first need to get engaged into this the whole narrative of folk culture. And uh, let's leave it to them how they want to proceed.
mm,
Because now the problem is, or the main issue which we have to address at the beginning of these narrative is, uh, let's get them engaging first. Okay. वो बाद में हो जाएगा. How they will take in, they will proceed with everything they have. ठीक है, उसकी अच्छाइयों को लेके आगे बढ़े ना हजारों साल तक. तो लेट्स ब्रिंग द and let's leave on them how they want to take this
yeah,
forward.
yeah. I mean, the first is
Yeah,
access and exposure, and then how they want to take it forward
exactly,
and preserve it. And
exactly,
I
exactly.
think that is very
Hmm,
no wonderful. But I
hmm,
cannot thank you enough, Anurag. I really think it's amazing talking to you, and the kind of work that you do is a long, lone struggle. There's no doubt about it, because you're trying to bring out
exactly.
something most people are not even aware of, honestly. So
Hmm,
this is absolutely lovely. And of course, the effort works only when more and more people join hands, which is why I wanted to know how citizens can help as well. Because as
hmm,
people who like art, or people are interested in art, I think this is the
hmm,
best way to propagate not only the culture but also the history of a particular region and the learnings. All of
hmm,
this is wisdom. When you spoke about the story,
hmm,
or the
hmm.
couplets and things like that, these are all wisdom that has been passed on, right? Learning and wisdom.
Exactly,
That's
exactly.
that's also equally important, because we lose so much.
Yes. So, one more, can I give you poem,
Sure.
can I say some poem? So this poem comes from Angika language. So Angika language is from Bhagalpur, my hometown. The Angika itself means like Angika. So Ang Mahajanpada's
Right.
language was Angika. So now there's a poem which we used to uh, playfully used to sing in our childhood in Angika. We used to say, "Auka boka teen tadoka, uh, Chandan kathi lawa lathi, bagre bagdol ke, paniya chubuk." So this is an Angika folk poem which has been recited to children
Children.
out there, yeah, while playing. Now, what does this mean? Auka boka teen tadoka. So, auka means the newly born baby, and it is boka. It is naive. It doesn't know anything about
Innocent.
what the world is. It is very innocent and fool, kind of. So, the children is fool when it is born. Okay, auka boka teen tadoka. उसके बाद जो है उसके बाद तीन एज आता है स्टेज आता है औका बौका के बाद द चाइल्डहुड देन देर इज गृहस्थ जीवन देन देर इज वृद्ध एंड आफ्टर दैट दे go into what we say is the saintly stage. They
Sannyas. Yeah,
renounce
that's
everything.
true.
Okay, sannyas. Okay, so there is three stages after the childhood. Auka boka teen tadoka, three stages. And after that, after sannyas, what happens is uh, teen tadoka, चंदन काठी लवा लाठी. सो चंदन की लकड़ी लगती है और ये काठी
Light.
लगता है. काठी इज द लाइट. लवा लाठी, लवा इज द नाई. नाई शेव्स योर हेड एंड लाठी जिसपे
They
मृत्यु
carry. Correct.
बॉडी को ले जाया जाता है. तो आफ्टर दिस थ्री स्टेज दीज थिंग्स आर रिक्वायर्ड. उसके बाद बागरे बगडोल के, मतलब वो जो कलश अस्थि होती है उसको डुलाते डुलाते ले जाया जाता है और पानी में डुबो दिया जाता है.
Right.
उसके बाद जो आवाज आती है पानी से वो चुबुक की आवाज आती है. राइट.
Right.
So it was like immersed in water, right? So now what we come to know from this poem, it is very philosophical
Right.
to be taught to the children, right?
Right.
While playing, it is very deep, right?
Correct.
So the folk culture was like that. It was to make of that folk culture to be aware of what the tradition has been, what the culture has been, right? So that is one more part to how the community or the citizen can engage itself,
Right.
right? It is inherently engaging,
Right.
right? We just have to mobilize them. Yeah. So now it has so many aspect of every disciplines, right? It has historical perspective, it has philosophical perspective, it has the art form perspective to it. The good part is there are several organizations, governmental organizations, which are working towards it, like Indira Gandhi National Center for Arts, uh, Indira Gandhi Rashtra Manav Sangrahalaya in Bhopal. So these are few institutions which are working towards the conservation and trying to engage with people, make them aware of their traditions, their cultures, and everything. They have various programs how they engage with the
Correct.
citizens.
Government also, they're doing quite a bit. So is there anything more that policy wise or anything else that you feel they can engage as well to help?
Uh, there have been certain projects. One of a professor, faculty member of Indira Gandhi National Center for Arts is working towards this initiative. Her name is Molly Kaushik, and she has been documenting the cultures across India from, I guess, every village
Mm.
she is going to and uh, like documenting it. There have been certain initiatives. The A few professors, few eminent scholars, researchers, artists who have been patronized by their local governments have been not much initiatives to make aware of the folk culture, right? So we need those things, and the promotions, the branding mediums to reach the bigger audience. We need those things, right? And there have been a few organizations which have been doing things. There is this Daricha Foundation in Bengal. It is doing great work towards preserving, conserving the cultural heritage of Bengal. There are few in their personal capacity who are doing. Paul Sir, who is the founder of Sarmaya Museum, and the Sarmaya Museum is doing a great job in preserving the folk culture.
Mm.
It is a part of Hinduja Foundation, I guess. So Oja's Art Gallery is doing uh, their work towards preserving local folk paintings and all. This is a book which I got from Indira Gandhi National Center for Arts. This is named Gond Ramayani.
Ah,
So it is the narrative of Ramayana from Gond tribe's perspective. Okay, so the protagonist is not Ram here. The protagonist is Lakshman.
wow.
Okay, so it can be termed as Lakshman Charita. Okay, so the classical narrative is of Ramcharita, right?
Correct.
But it can be a folk narrative which tells about the perspective of Lakshman. Okay, so when you come across the folk tradition or tribal tradition, the main god is Lakshman in Ramayana. The main god is Bhim of Mahabharata. So, uh, so the story is woven from their perspective. There has been incidences, the narratives of Karn in Ang Mahajanpada,
Okay.
the Mahabharata narrative from Ang's, the Karn's perspective.
Perspective.
Okay, so it gives you perspective. Reading these folk traditions gives you perspective of the other side of the story, right? Let me show you the bookmark. This is the bookmark on palm leaf. It is Sora painting from Odisha. Okay, it comes from Sohrai tribe, Sora tribe. I got this from a governmental organization named Tribes India.
Hmm.
Okay, so we have this for, I guess, 15-16 rupees. This bookmark. It comes from Orissa, we know, but who painted it? We don't know. We don't know that. The Orissa is very big and they have too many tribes. Their geographical regions are different, So we need to know about this community, where it is coming from, right?
Hmm.
By knowing these people, this community, the geographical regions, the public policies can be built around or discussed around those
Those
areas,
particular, correct.
right? Exactly. If there are certain tribes who don't have access to water,
Right.
It is mountainous area. They don't have waters. So these anxieties have been there in the community and has been spoken through the folk poems or the folk tales. Right now, government has to look deep into it. Ki how they are. These anxieties of the whole community is transforming into this folk tale or this folk poem, what they want. And through through researching on those aspects, I think the local policies can be made in a better way. Yeah.
No, absolutely lovely. And that's such a beautiful example that you showed. I mean, most people would not even know the existence of this Gond Ramayani. And it's lovely to hear different perspectives, not just Ram
Yeah.
and not even Sita for that matter, because we hardly hear about her or from her or.
There was this book I was going through when I was in masters. uh, this book was about the origin and Vaishnavism. Okay, so while I was going through this book, there were it mentioned various folk Ramayan which was going through in entire nation, and these folk Ramayans exist in Southeast Asia in different nations like Thailand, Vietnam, Malaysia, Sri Lanka, and various other parts of the world. So there are almost 200 kinds of Ramayana. Okay. So there are several other forms of Ramayana which we need to talk about, or the epics which we need to talk about. This painting, this Sorai painting, and it comes from Sora tribe. So there are two people in Sora tribe which has been inculcated in Ramayana, the story of Ramayana. Okay, how I'll tell you. The Sabri,
Mm,
the Sabri who eats the bear, right,
correct.
was from this tribe, this
Okay.
Sora tribe, which belongs to the Orissa and Jharkhand region of India. Okay, so the the most read epics or the epics of India, which is popular like Ramayana and Mahabharata, needs to be read more in terms of contextually and critically what and whom it is talking about, which geographical regions it is talking about. We need to read and research more from this perspective, right? And there have been governmental organizations and researches which were going on and still going on, but I think we need more of the patronage of government regarding this initiatives and involving the communities more and more. So yeah, that's how folk culture must be approached, and the citizens out there uh, can be engaged and approached uh, for a betterment of the whole community and society. Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. And also not to lose our learnings on the way. Not only learning, sometimes it can also just be
Mhm.
perspectives. It need not be deep philosophical learning also, but also society's perspectives at that point of time and that region as well. But this has been incredibly interactive. I'm sure there's so much more we can talk about, and so many other examples of folk tales that really bring
Yes,
out the best of a region.
always.
There's really no end to that conversation, but I can only thank you, Anurag. It was so wonderful talking to you. And I really hope that there is more and more support for this kind of research and love for arts, because ultimately it's arts that really enrich
Mhm.
your life. So thank you so much for taking this effort
Mm.
and also willing to share your knowledge with everyone.
Thank you so much, Mridula ji. It was an honor to talk to you and impart my limited knowledge. That's it.
You're very
Thank you
kind.
so
Thank you so much.